Hey all, Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from the south, more specifically, Natural Bridge, Virginia. And I have to admit, I'm very, very stoked about this one. I'm here to visit Mark Klein. Now, Mark Klein is a fiberglass artist. He's created many amazing roadside attractions, such as Dinosaur Kingdom 1 and 2, the Extinct Monster Museum, the Extinct Hunt Bigfoot with a Redneck, which I never got to see. Also, he's creator of Foamhenge, Bamahenge, and the massive Lady in the Lake. Now here I'm at Enchanted Castle Studios. It's a former roadside attraction where he displayed his work. There was a fire here, and after the fire, he no longer gave tours, and he still to this day does not give public tours, but I have been invited to take a look inside Enchanted Castle Studios. I feel like one of the little kids from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. Follow me.
Jacob.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Oh no, that's that's Franken chicken there. Yeah,
Franken chicken?
Yeah, he came from a bad egg, but we like him anyway. Yeah.
Now this was the Pink Cadillac diner at one point.
Pink Cadillac, yeah. And he's made so he can actually blow, blow. He's got
blows air out there.
Tube in there, yeah. So I'm just gonna I want to find the right place for him. Put shark. I've already got the.
That's awesome.
I ordered the glass eyes, or I'm trying to order the glass eyes. But this is how the trees look. The big base on the tree. See that?
Yeah.
Go through this door, then through this door. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It gets smart, all the doors.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh wow.
And
got your dinosaurs.
yeah, these babies are all going to go in a little cluster, and of course we have the black sheep over here. I'll probably be accused of being prejudiced or something.
And you got Mr. Slime.
Mr. Slime over here, and we've got one that hasn't quite matured yet over here, but they're on the head of the dinosaur, and this started out from a sketch.
Oh yeah?
I played Willy Wonka for this thing called the Sweet Dreams, the Sweet Dreams Festival, and then these all spin, and then they have an Oompa Loompa that comes up here. He does a little pre-show. Up here we got the squirrels, and the squirrels dump the nuts into the vat, and bubbles come out, and then I'll come out of that box, and then I'll come up here and do a thing. I'll do whatever. And, it's like a little bit of cheer,
Now, are these from the old wax museum?
Yeah, the wax museum closed down, and I ended up getting all these heads.
Oh wow!
What'll happen is there's about 80 of these. What I'll do is, like, if somebody wants to order, like a particular person with facial features or whatever, I'll pick out, like, say for instance, like this guy might look. His facial features might be closer to Alfred Hitchcock, so I might pick that out and then I'll add clay to it to make it look, more like Alfred Hitchcock. Right? That one I'll think of Edgar Allan Poe. One over here, he looks just like Lance Armstrong. I've never done he? Like
Oh yeah.
Now I could put him on a bicycle and put a T-shirt on that says "Disgrace." George Washington's initials.
That's you actually made that mold off the Natural Bridge.
Mm-hmm. I think it was a guy named Gary Wallace that was actually pretty drunk one night. He did it, but it's hell. Say George Washington did it. Yeah, it's a little bit dusty. I actually sent one of these to our governor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. At night, I'll in the summer I'll go on my way home. I'll do my ghost tour.
Yeah.
Which I have a ghost tour, and I go right up to where Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson are buried. My tour is more like street theater.
Yeah.
It's not your typical, scary whatever. So I throw a lot of humor in my tour, and oh, now look here, now this is scary right here. Wow, look at the cloning machine. It went crazy. Anyway, now we put these in all the hotels and all that. What a fine looking gentleman that man is right there. A little on the thin side though. He doesn't take up much room or doesn't eat much at the hotels. But
Oh wow, you have a lot going on in here.
yeah, oh yeah. It's like,
There's Johnny.
here's Johnny. I like to make some of these and sell them to people for the restaurants, you know.
Oh yeah.
Hey, where's the bathroom? Well, the Johnny's just down here to the left. You know, what would I have for the woman's bathroom though? Queen Latrina? This is my most asinine sculpture.
Ass in 9 sculpture. Nice.
When I do some illusions over here, this is my stage that I'll take to like different carnivals and fairs and different things. And I'll do, I've got it doctored up for a patriotic float now, but I'll take this and then I'll do like the Houdini milk can escape or whatever.
Oh, yeah?
Off of it. And this is one of the things I did off of this, off the stage. This is me riding this unicycle right here. I ride this 6-foot unicycle through a ring of fire blindfolded. Yes.
I
know. When do you get too old for this kind of shit? All right. This is Phil Nunn. He is a 6'4" gentleman that he was actually on my ghost tour. Died in 1939, but I told this story. And he has sort of a tragic story, but I made him, and you see look at these shoes. He lost his toes in a tragic frostbite accident.
Yeah.
So he had to make his own shoes out of these planks of wood with carpet stapled from one end to the other. But anyway, I put this in front of somebody's storefront. Oh, and check this out. Whenever at the end of the day, I haven't felt like I've beaten myself up enough, I get in the old exercise equipment, and it's, yes, oh yes. May I have another? May I have another? Oh, and it really hurts too. Ooh, yes. I also call this the Dignity Eliminator. I like Alice Cooper's machine that he uses. And, I did some work for Alice Cooper.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, a few years back. And I went to go see one of his shows where he had his guillotine come down, and it didn't work.
It didn't work.
It came down, well, I mean, it...
Defined work.
It didn't work. But, I mean, when I say it malfunctioned, it came down about like that, and his head didn't roll like it's supposed to. So I've had 2 major fires. But then, P.T. Barnum, he had 3 fires. At least I'm one behind him.
I hope you stay that way.
I do too.
Is that a real casket right there?
This came out of a wax museum down in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
And people say, "Hey, we're going to throw this out," and it's a casket. I'm like, "No, wait a minute, no, don't throw that out." Stonewall Jackson battles the giant Spinosaurus, and this is all full color. And, in case people want to know the truth of what really happened during the war, what's what they left out of the history books, I cover it.
Just about all the molds over here. Fiberglass molds. All the wonderful little pieces of fiberglass. There's the kraken, depending on how you pronounce it. Some giant hands. Oh, we got a Muffler Man mold. This is full of half horses. Who's this right here?
I modeled him after a guy named Leonard Pickle. Leonard Pickle is probably the top guy in the haunted house industry.
Yeah.
And Leonard posed for me, and I had him. It was at a Virginia Haunt Fest, and he did a face, and he posed for me, and I made this face, and just as a demonstration. And then I ended up making a whole body. So he's just one of the many pieces that I have laying around. This was just brought in yesterday. This, actually, Donald Trump saw this.
Donald Trump?
Yeah, because Donald Trump's head was on this. This was Donald Trump.
What happened to his head?
I think that comedian held held the head up.
Kathy Griffin took his head off.
Yeah, so, no. Anyway, it was a mask or something, and the guy that I set this up with, he took the mask back off of it and gave me back the rest of the body. But yeah, Donald loved this. He thought it was great because he was riding a horse. I don't know what was in the hand. Maybe I am the greatest. Maybe he took that off of Muhammad Ali. So. I made this. This was a replica off of a dragon that was at the Enchanted Forest up in Maryland. You ever heard of the Enchanted Forest?
The Enchanted Forest.
I grew up going there when I was little.
Is it still there, right?
Well,
or part of it?
Yes and no. They closed it down, but they moved it from 2 miles away.
So it's at Eliox?
Eliox City.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Elioke. Ellicott.
Ellicott, okay.
I grew up going there. I was inspired, you know, the Enchanted Forest, the Enchanted Castle, and when I found out in the 80s that the place was being turned into a supermarket or something, you know, I made some contact with these people. Lo and behold, found out that they were actually, you know, this lady had a petting farm about 2 miles away, and they were just trying to save some of the pieces. So I'm like the prince coming back to save the kingdom, the knight coming back to save the kingdom. So I was able to put together lots of pieces. Some pieces were stolen, like say in other words, there were 3 little pigs. One of the pigs was gone. I went by old photographs and I made the pig of that style. And there was only like pieces of Humpty Dumpty left, just pieces, but there were photographs. So I was able to put him back together, and I put on the contract because all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't do it. You know, hey, it's not bragging if you can do it, right?
Absolutely.
It's not bragging if you can do it. And you know, not only is this roller skater a great little display model here for your skate town, but this can be taken off. This boot is taken off.
Yeah.
It can be put on an ATV.
Yeah.
And this little hatch comes out, and you can ride it down through your parade.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's a promotional.
Yeah. See the hatch there. So cool.
And she was a mannequin that I actually had to make her. I modeled her after Raquel Welch, but I didn't make her that beautiful. You know why? Because I was afraid somebody was going to take her.
And they turned around and stole it.
They turned around and stole her. 3 guys, was it 5 o'clock in the morning?
Jumped up on her, rocked her off, throwed her off, picked her up, stuck her in the back of the car, down the road they went.
And you know what? We figured the 3 guys were that desperate. I mean, that desperate for a fiberglass woman. Yeah, you need to get you a new one for that. I'm actually going to do it.
Previously held Raquel Welch. You can see where she used to sit there.
Then again, maybe he doesn't need the paint job. Maybe it looks good, you know, the way he's sort of deteriorating. And I made this originally like 25 years ago to go down in Nag's Head, and one of the hurricanes knocked it over. I think Bertha. So I brought it back here, and where it sat for maybe about another 15 years or so, and then I became friends with Paul, who owns the metal place, and you know, he was mentioning something about maybe a sculpture out here, and I said, I got just the thing. I got just the thing for you. So this is actually I think we're done with the Trump sign now, but this is on the front of the cab of a tractor trailer. Maybe that's to discourage kids from getting up there. Yeah, so he's got an alien in there driving around.
I see that.
Good footage of it from here with the sun.
So where was he in front of originally?
He was down at the Galaxy Golf in Nag's Head.
Okay, like a mini golf.
Yeah, And I built a lot of, you know, Star Wars, Star Trek type kind of aliens, and he was standing down there. But I added a few other little.
Is that a muffler man head on it?
Yeah, it's got a muffler man. He's a cyborg muffler man. How these are, you know, put together. This right here, this was made out of a mold, out of one of those polypropylene turtles that kids play in, sandboxes.
Okay, I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
This right here, if you can see the shapes of here, this was a wheelbarrow turned upside down. I poured resin, fiberglass down in there, and popped this out. So this is an upside down wheelbarrow. And this back here, these are those big terracotta planters.
Yeah.
You see, there's one of those real large ones, and I was able to use that. But they're, you know, the plastic ones. So I was able to. What I'll do is I'll look at shapes. I've become an observer of shapes ever since I was little, and so I can look and see, you know, what they can become. So I was able to use lots of bits and pieces of things to assemble this robot. You know, it's a rock quarry.
Yeah.
You know? So he commissioned me to he built this car wash here, and so he's tying this all in with his quarry. So he's calling it Beyond Bedrock, and so this is a very old piece. And in fact, it's been here so long. And look, vandals have already messed up the dashboard, but it's been here so long that it's starting to sink. course, that could be that, you know, so many people have taken off their shoes and run.
Dug a hole in the ground.
Dug a hole through here. Look at this. This rock wasn't here before. How about that? Yeah. Wilma. I loved Wilma. Wilma Flintstone. When I get to think about it, how sexy she actually would have looked if she had ever let her hair down. Of course, I was always nervous about that because Fred, he was a big guy, and, you know, he could get jealous at times. Be there in about a minute and a half. Statue of Stonewall Jackson. I built him a few years ago, and he's 19 feet tall from the spooks to the end of the sword. It took me approximately 7 days to build this. I'm very fast with the fiberglass, and he is facing the north, holding the sword up in defiance, you know, to keep all the Yankees up there, you know, because he's guarding his beloved home of Lexington, which is just a few miles up this way. Stonewall Jackson lived here right before the war and taught at VMI. He was erected on this site. Well, it says it right here on the plaque here, May 10th, and that happens to be the anniversary of Stonewall Jackson's death. That was the 150th anniversary when he died. So this is significant by having him here. And he was erected by some VMI students, Virginia Military Institute students, so I employed to help me put him up, which I thought was very poetic because that's where he taught. Robert E. Lee never lived here in Lexington at the same time. They lived here at different times. But Jackson lived here before the war, and Lee retired here after the war. He came here and lived up at that house up there. So when I do my ghost tour, I come right up through here and reenact where he fell. You know, Robert E. Lee actually had a stroke. He went to church here, and he was walking up to his house, and he had a stroke about halfway up there in the yard, and he fell. And so my audience is standing all along that fence right there, and I'll recreate the stroke, you know, where he fell, and show you where he took his last steps.
Buried inside the chapel?
Yeah, right inside, you know.
Is that
kind of like these old Gothic, you know, churches, you know,
yeah.
It's like actually in tomb. And so is his father and mother. They're buried here.
Really?
And his horse Traveler. So
in the church.
But he's not buried with the family. He's buried outside.
Oh, the horse?
Yeah.
They buried the horse outside?
I'm going to show you where Traveler is buried.
There's the skeleton when it was on display. Robert E. Lee riding Traveler.
And right here is where Traveler's hopefully final resting place is, right here. Which we've already visited.
It's Traveler's.
Of course, now he wasn't a human, you know, but he made a big impact here. So, you know, the criteria obviously didn't have to be.
Quite a popular horse in these parts, I see.
Yes, he was. Traveler with 2 L's. Now, right here, actually, this is a relative of mine through marriage.
Patsy Cline?
Patsy Cline. She lived here when she was 5 years old.
So you're related to Patsy Cline?
Patsy, yes, through marriage. She was married to a man named Gerald Klein, who was an invalid, and anyway, she was married to him for a while. And she lived here when she was a little girl. Here we go. George M. Crum, Congressman, 1826 to 27, Ambassador to Chile, Washington College, first streaker, 1804.
Wait a minute. So he was,
yeah.
He was the first. Okay, so
Congressman was our first documented streaker. Ran through the streets naked.
Here's a second horse, little sorrel that gets a plaque in the ground. This town is crazy about Civil War horses, and apparently, little sorrel is actually his taxidermied body is in a museum somewhere here in town. But unfortunately, that's closed for the evening, so there'll be no taxidermied Civil War horse in this video.
And it's appropriate that sorrel's right over there because right here is Stonewall Jackson's plaque, and right here is his house.
All right.
Now, I was very proud of writing this one because General Jackson, CSA, Stonewall, teacher and gardener, laid to rest. Now, you'd think, you know, when we were vetting some of these names, people said, oh, he put on a Civil War general, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, you know what he was most proud of? He was most proud of his garden and that he was a teacher. Let's put what he would have been proud of.
Well, there's a true honor, being the last man to be hanged. Well, do you know what he did?
Yeah, he murdered his neighbor. William Wiltshire shot Henry Smith.
There you go.
Like, you know, he was drunk. You know, we can go coon hunting with him or something like that.
There you go. Murder your neighbor and you get immortalized on the street forever. So this guy robbed the town blind, ran away and was never seen again, and he gets his own plaque.
Yeah. He was also most trusted man in Lexington. He was a Sunday school teacher.
I think that was prior to the massive embezzlement.
Yeah. This guy, Mel Greenberg, he came into town and tried to convince everybody to give him money to make a movie.
Yeah?
A Civil War movie. And when I do him, it's like,
You know, like Mr. Haney from Green Acres, I'm gonna make a big Civil War movie starring some of the biggest stars of the day. And if you let me stay here in your hotel free, I'm gonna give you a starring role, maybe even Robert E. Lee.
How'd the movie turn out? Oh,
he took all the money.
He hoodwinked locals.
Yeah, he took all the money and left.
How come there's so many hoodwinkers in this town?
They're in every town, but we immortalize them here. We love our characters here. And this was his original burial place, right here. In fact, it says it right there on his tombstone. It says Stonewall Jackson. That is his original tombstone. He was buried here, but he is no longer interred here, because back in 1891, the Daughters of the Confederacy raised enough money to move him to a more prominent location. They thought this wasn't prominent enough for him.
But his stone is still here?
Yeah, well, yeah, but nothing's under it. They left a stone here, right there.
Huh.
And so you would say that this is the original place of Stonewall Jackson and the original Jackson 5. But they're gone now.
So where is he?
Over here. They left his first wife back there, though.
They left his wife behind.
His first wife.
His first wife?
You know why?
Why's that?
Well, the second wife thought it was a pretty good idea. I like it how we've arranged to have the full moon, almost the full moon, like right here, right behind his head, about right here, to gives him that glow. See? We made this work out for you, so you can have that glow behind his head.
So this is this new and improved
The new and improved, right.
grave.